Today's Trailblazer episode is proudly supported by Brand New Academy. In a post-COVID world, whether you're a corporate professional, a leader, or an entrepreneur, someone's Googling you, and the results they find will determine whether or not you land a new job, a much-needed promotion, a new partnership, or that new client. And if you're needing help with building or optimizing your online presence and personal brand, I want you to consider joining our spring cohort of Brand New Academy's Personal Branding Essentials Bootcamp. It's going to happen on Saturday, March 20th. To learn more, hop on over to stephenahart.com/bootcamp.
You're listening to the Trailblazers.fm podcast, where we'll explore the stories of today's successful Black professionals, entrepreneurs, and leaders. Join us to access the knowledge, resources, and tools of these accomplished professionals and come away with the know-how, confidence, and motivation you'll need to blaze your trail. And now, here's your host, Stephen A. Hart.
Hello and good morning. Happy Friday to you. If this is your first time joining one of our broadcasts, I just want to say thank you so very much for joining us today. My name is Stephen A. Hart. I'm the host of the Trailblazers.fm platform, which is a platform we launched back in February of 2016 to explore and highlight stories of today's successful Black entrepreneurs, professionals, and leaders. Since that time, we've reached over 400,000 in 145 countries around the world, having featured over 200 plus entrepreneurs and professionals. Our platform has expanded. We are now doing live streaming, and we're live streaming today's episode across LinkedIn, YouTube, Twitter, through Periscope, as well as our Facebook channels. You can also find us on our website over at tbpod.com. And so joining me for today's conversation is AJ Yawn. AJ is a co-founder and CEO of Byte. He's also a founding board member of the National Association of Black Compliance and Risk Management Professionals. AJ, welcome to the show, my brother.
Thank you for having me on. I've been looking forward to this for weeks, ever since we first chatted a few weeks ago. So glad to be here.
Yes, absolutely. So AJ, we start every conversation on Trailblazers off from a place of gratitude. And so I wanted to pick your brain and find out, in this COVID climate, in the social and political energy that's consuming our day-to-day and all the noise around us, what are you most grateful for in your life right now?
I think gratitude is so important. I focus on it daily. I meditate daily so that I can get present and remember what I'm grateful for. And for me, it always comes back to time. I'm grateful for the time that I have with my kids, with people that I love, because pre-COVID, all this time that we now have that we may be complaining about, and all this time we have with our kids, we didn't have this time. So I feel like our generation is going to be our generation of parents. We're going to have the closest relationship with our kids if we let all of this time that we now have at home with them use it to our advantage. So I'm just really grateful to have the opportunity to spend that much time with my children, be in a position where I can spend that much time with them and enjoy them and really get to know them more. How
old are the kids now?
4 and 3. So I'm still in the grind,
That's real.
Yeah.
That's some active hands right there.
Man, all day. My son is the older one, the 4-year-old, and anybody that's a father or mother of boys knows what boys are like.
Yes.
It's fun though. It's been the best 4.5 years of my life since I became a dad, and when it changed it for the world, it's the most important thing in my life. Even starting a company is way down the line compared to my responsibility as a father of 2 young Black children in this country. So it's awesome, man.
And you are the first brother that I've allowed into a slot in March, not because I've actively reserved when we were just doing the podcast, those 4 slots in March for Women's History Month. But
Yeah.
I want you to share, as you know, let's put a spin on that gratitude and share a woman in your life who you're most appreciative of right now.
Man, yeah, there's so many. I don't want to leave someone out. Man, I mean, obviously my mother,
Yes.
My mom helped shape everything that I do, the person I am, especially from the empathy that I have. I saw from a very young age how empathetic she was. And she's actually an entrepreneur as well. She started after she left working in the correctional space. She went and started her own daycare. And I watched the trials and tribulations of her doing that, and watched from afar as a kid, seeing some of the mistakes and also things that she got through. But at the end of the day, her focus has always been on her family and making sure the family was taken care of. So definitely someone that, your parents, whether you like it or not, they shape you. They help you become who you are because they're instilling their values that they think are important into you. So she instilled a bunch of great values in me, and everything I do as a dad, I learned from her. She was that voice of reason, that role model for me. So definitely my mother.
Would you say that planted an early seed in you on the entrepreneurial side?
I think it showed me that qualifications didn't matter. That if you wanted to do something, you can go out and do it. So I think it planted that seed because my mom didn't go to college. She's finishing up her degree now, and she just knew she wanted to work with children. She knew that she had a passion for working with children. She knew that there was a path to do it in the daycare route. She went and learned everything that she could, went out and got all the licensing and things. And I just saw that, if you set a plan, you lay it out, it doesn't really matter what pops up in front of you. You can get through it, whether or not people say you can do it or you can't. And I think that perseverance mentality definitely helped shape me. And a lot of my journey in life has been about getting something very bad happening to me and then deciding, you know what, I'm going to continue on, even though this is tough, even though it's not. And I learned that from her for sure.
Wow. We share similarities there. I grew up with a dad who was an entrepreneur as well, and a chef by training, but ran, a catering company for almost 40 years.
Wow.
So, and I credit a lot of the creative gene that I have, as well as that entrepreneurial gene, to having seen that, right? And had that kind of representation in the home at an early stage. Where did you grow up?
Southern California. Yeah. I'm in Miami now. So I like good weather. I need to be around good weather. But yeah, I grew up in Southern California in a city called Oceanside, California, near it's called Camp Pendleton. My dad was in the Marine Corps, so any Marines out there listening, like Chris Cochran, they know Camp Pendleton very well. Yes. And that's where I grew up, down there in SoCal.
And so, someone like Chris will say, how did you allow your son to join the Army?
Yeah. Actually, my dad told me to join the Army. So
really?
Which is crazy because now he gives me so much crap about being in the Army. He gives me crap about 2 things, and he told me to do both of them. The first was he told me to be an officer. So I went to be an officer, and he was enlisted. And then the second thing was to join the Army. And now he gives me crap about being an officer and for being in the Army. But it was his advice. He really told me if as an officer, if I wanted to grow as a Black man, the Marine Corps would be a little bit tougher for me than it would be in the Army, because there's just, even though the percentages aren't high, there's more Black officers in the Army than there are in the Marine Corps. So yeah, he encouraged me to do it, and then ever since I did, it's been a constant battle with him about it.
What do you credit your experience in the Army? How do you think that helped shape the person you are right now?
Oh, it's leadership. 100%. I showed up to my unit as a 23-year-old who had just finished in the Sweet 16 in the NCAA tournament at Florida State. So I was, at the peak of my young life as a college athlete, living the dream. We went to the Sweet 16. Everything was amazing. And then boom, you show up to a unit. And I'm in charge of 20 guys and girls. Wow. One of them is 37 years old and has deployed 4 times. And I'm like, hey, I'm your boss. And then 3 months later, we deployed. So I didn't have time to say, I need to learn to be a leader, or I need to read this leadership book, or go get an MBA. No, it was a master's class in leadership from the beginning. And it's not just the military, it's not just about, are people getting paid? Are they happy in their job? It's life and death. Like, you're responsible for lives. I had to teach my soldiers about credit. I had to teach my soldiers about signing a lease, about what to do when they're getting married. All these different things that, you would think that people would know, but my soldiers were 18, 19 years old, fresh out of high school, some of them didn't know anything. This is their first real world experience. So that leadership experience by far was the most impactful thing. And then also seeing the world. I got to travel a lot in the military, both deployments, which aren't necessarily vacation, but when you travel and you see so much, it makes you really grateful for what you have. And it makes you put things into perspective, and you realize just how small of a piece you are in this big thing we call the world. And when you start to realize, and it's a core value we have at Byte Chek, not taking yourself too seriously. And that's something that I do in my life. And it's because I know, like, the stuff I'm going through is not unique. There's someone maybe in Afghanistan today that's a dad, just had to run to work, had to get there really fast, and maybe had his kids that were going too slow to get out for school. Literally the same exact person in another country across the world is probably going through the same stuff that I'm going through. And when you start to realize that, and it's hard to see it unless you see the world. And the Army helped me see the world and see different perspectives, see different religions. And I just really appreciative for that time. I always tell people I got way more out of the Army than I gave it. I hope that my soldiers, at least they became better people from my leadership. But I'm forever grateful for what I learned and did in the Army.
Wow. So was that kind of what fueled your knowledge and maybe love for tech and then leading into cybersecurity?
Yeah, if you'd have told me in 2006 when I graduated high school and I was going to Florida State to play basketball that I'd be working in the cybersecurity industry, I would have thought you were crazy. I'd have been like, man, what? I'm not working in tech. I'm an athlete. There's no way I'm doing this. And I actually, the reason I got into tech, the reason I joined the Army was because I broke both ankles in college. And I couldn't play basketball anymore for a little bit, and decided I didn't want to go back to California. I wanted to finish school. That was my goal, be the first person in my family to graduate. So I was like, how do I do that? And that was when my dad was like, you can join the military, join the Army. So I joined the military for that. And then when it came time to picking what job I wanted to do in the military, I literally was just like, my dad said, pick a job that you can get a job when you get out of the military. And I was like, well, I don't know if I'm gonna get out of the military. He's like, just in case, pick a job that you can get when you get out of the military. So I chose to go into what they call signal in the military, and it's communications. And it was just luck, I think. And while I was in there, definitely got exposed to a lot, got exposed to security, networking, I got exposed to tactical communications with actual real radios and stuff like that, which was cool. But it started there, but I really didn't get super technical until I realized I was getting out, and I knew I had to learn some of these skills to do well in the civilian side.
That's interesting. So between the Army and Byte Chek, where did you actually spend some time developing that skill in the work?
I got fortunate because I went to a cybersecurity compliance consulting company, and at that company when I joined, there was only 9 of us. There's 9 of us in the practice, really small unit or group. And when I left last year, about a year ago last year, we were well over 130 people, and we were doing SOC 2 and ISO and HIPAA, high trust, all of the full alphabet soup there of compliance frameworks. And while there, because of that growth, I was able to work with some of the biggest Fortune 10 companies in the world, work with startups, and just see everything. Like, I saw so much. It gave me an exposure to this industry that accelerated my growth. And I think consulting is just one of those fields where, because you're constantly seeing new environments, you're constantly talking to new companies, and you see some of the same stuff over again, you start to see some themes. it's a great way to learn about an industry and then figure out what do you want to do in that industry, either on your own as an entrepreneur or at another company. So during that time, I would say, I got out of the military early 2017. About mid 2018, I realized, I want to start a company in this industry. But I knew at that moment I didn't know enough. I just knew I did not understand enough about the business, about how you actually acquire customers. I didn't understand how it all worked. So I was like, I'm going to do my best to get promoted, to keep growing, to see the things that I needed to learn. And I just waited my time, stayed patient until the moment was right, which was when I felt like I had enough knowledge to go out and do this.
Yeah. And that brings us to the title of this episode, because, as we were talking some weeks ago, I thought, man, it'd be so easy to get caught up in the comfort of as a leader of a corporate salary and the security of that, especially in the world of cyber, right? And in cybersecurity, there's so much opportunity.
Yeah.
And I imagine that, starting up Byte is probably counter to that, right? There's a ton of sacrifice. You probably are not earning what you did out the gates.
No
Talk to us about kind of where that mindset came, to really say, you know what, I'm going to jump.
Yeah, it came for me about impact. I realized that despite my great salary, despite all the shoes I was buying and all the traveling I was doing, I wasn't able to really change people's lives. I wasn't impacting the people's lives around me. I wasn't able financially and both from a opportunity perspective. I didn't have a big enough platform to do that. And I knew that if I stayed at the corporate company, I'd do very well for myself. I do very well personally, but I'm the type of person that does well when I'm challenged, when I have an opportunity. I love to create. And while I was growing there, I was able to create a lot of new things. I was able to innovate and do things, but every corporation hits that point where innovation slows down, you get pretty big, you start to have all this red tape to jump through. And I knew that two things, if I wanted to be successful in whatever I was doing, I had to be happy. I had to enjoy it. If you don't enjoy what you're doing, it's hard to be successful. It's really hard because you don't show up on those days you don't feel like it. You do show up on the days you don't feel like it when you enjoy what you're doing. And then the other thing was impact. I'm big about, I think cybersecurity can change our people's lives. And when I say our people, if anybody's confused, people that look like me and Steven. I feel like cybersecurity, this cloud security space, specifically cloud security. I was telling somebody the other day, I think cloud security, the future of cloud security can look a lot like the NBA, like 95% Black, because there's a lot of job shortages in cloud security, and we have the opportunity to do this. So I was constantly trying to get people in the field, and I couldn't get anybody hired. And I was a hiring manager. I was like, this is crazy. Like, I still can't do something I want to, where I'm just like, this person needs a chance. It's not about what their resume says. It's not about what school they went to. They need a chance. And I realized if I wanted to be in a position where I could either reach out and touch people to get people opportunities or be able to provide that opportunity myself, I had to go build something. I had to go out and do it for myself. But that decision, like I said, the thought popped in my head in mid 2018. So it took time for me to get my finances right, as well as my mind right on what this would take to do, because there's no chance I'm making what I was making before. That pay cut hurts. It still hurts to this day. After even a year later, it hurts thinking about it, but it was worth it. And I would do it again in a heartbeat, because being an entrepreneur is one of the greatest things that you'll ever do from a personal standpoint. But like we're talking about today, it's a sacrifice. It's not all roses and fun. All the headlines are great, but that's not what being an entrepreneur is about at all.
Yeah. So let's maybe expand on, so you want to have that impact. What areas have kind of been, because until you don't know. Until you take that jump, you don't realize kind of the challenges. And I'm sure every day you experience the mistakes and the failures, and you keep iterating and moving ahead. What have been, maybe a couple of those bigger slap you upside the head lessons, right? And kind of, talk us through kind of what the experience was and what that lesson was that came through it.
Yeah. One of the biggest slap upside the head lessons were something I went through early on at Byte Chek. We started this company with someone that's my best friend. I grew up with, we went to college together. We started in the Army together. He's no longer with Byte Chek. He was a co-founder. And if you guys watch the Facebook movie, it was a lot like that. And you read all about co-founder relationships and how important they are and all that stuff. And you don't realize all of that stuff is true until you're going through it, especially with someone that you love and care about. And he's the godfather of my son. So someone that's a really important person in my life. And he left at a critical moment in the company as we were growing and getting ready to launch publicly, which was it's a part of the mental warfare that you go through as an entrepreneur, that bad things happen often. And that's what you have to get used to. And the thing that has helped me a lot when it comes to just repeated mistakes, repeated bad things that happen is I constantly tell myself, I'm not supposed to be doing this. I'm playing with house money now. Being an entrepreneur, being a CEO of a cybersecurity company, like, who am I? Like, what? That's not supposed to happen. So I take the lessons with a grain of salt, knowing that I'm doing something pretty crazy here. I'm doing something that is supposed to be hard. There's a reason why 90-something% of startups fail is because it's really hard. It's really difficult to do something like this and to launch a company. So the mistakes to me aren't even mistakes anymore. They're just lessons. I just learn. I just consistently learn. But I would say the personal dynamics of losing someone, it's tough, especially when it's someone that you trust and you have a ton of respect for. And fortunately, both of us are pretty mature young men, and we've been able to rekindle our relationship and continue our friendship after the fallout. But it was tough, man. It was, you want to do this with people that you're comfortable being with in the trenches. So when you lose your best friend early on in the journey, it definitely threw a wrench into things.
Yeah. Well, we were talking, and I appreciate you sharing that, AJ, because that's real. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've been through the headache of starting a business with a close friend as well in college, who is now family. And it's challenging because while sometimes that person is well suited for business, sometimes the differences in that relationship can be a conflict, right? In terms of the values that you have towards a business. And so for those listening who are considering partnerships, I'm not knocking them, but you really do need to give thought to that and take the time to make sure you are setting yourself up for the end of that might not work, and make sure you have the proper documentation and partnership agreement in place.
Exactly.
Right? I'm sure you could speak to that.
do that legal work, man. Do the legal work that you don't want to do it early, do it often. And also the thing that I think helped me get through that is it's empathy. Understand the other person's side of it. Understand that, as an entrepreneur, as you know, when you're building a company, that's the most important thing. It's like a little baby for you. It's like you're literally your creature. So you are the one that feels that way. And unfortunately, not everyone's going to feel that way, So you have to understand what is going on in their life that's different.
Yeah.
That may be something that's impacting them to help cause them to not want to do this at this time. And like you said, get those documents in order. No matter how close you are, no matter how much you think, oh, never happened to us, get your documents in order, because it'll save you a lot of time, effort, and money from the lawyers.
Yeah, absolutely will. So one of the things that you talked about, we were discussing capital and venture capital, and you said something that was that challenged thought. You were talking about capital being more than money. Yep. And I was wondering if you could kind of expand on that for those who are entrepreneurs who maybe aren't thinking of, hey, I could probably tap into human capital or, some other things that would help me to strengthen and grow as a business owner?
Yeah, so like the thing, especially in the software space, the SaaS space, is you go out and raise venture capital. You go out and raise $2, $3, $4, $5 million, and the reason you do it is to grow the company, right? Is to grow the business, to hire people, and all that stuff. But what you're supposed to get from a venture capitalist is way more than money. You're supposed to get help with marketing. You're supposed to get help with connections. You're supposed to get help with introductions to certain new customers. You're supposed to get so much more than money. And oftentimes, especially Black entrepreneurs, it's so hard to raise money. We just care about the money. Like, just give me this money. And our mentality, just being in this country for 400 years, is we're going to just go out and figure it out. Like, just give me what I need and I'm going to go do it. But that's not what we need to do as Black entrepreneurs. We need to demand so much more than just money. We don't need a check, and that's how we feel at Byte Chek as well. It's like, I don't need a check from you. That's a part of the package, but I want more if you're going to be on this journey with us, if you're going to be a part of our team. And the thing that is, we're in that stage where raising money is a thing that we're thinking about considering and going through, right? But it's about the partnership more so than the capital, and it's about what do you get out of it. And for us, we, marketing wise, we've done that organically and we've done very well at it. So a VC coming to us and saying, we're going to help you get the message out, not really useful at this stage for us, because the message is out. So it's about what do you get out of that raise, because you're losing a percentage of your business. And people don't want to think about it that way. They want to say, oh, I'm not losing it. It's a part of the process, but you are. You lose a piece of your business when you raise money, because they're going out and they're going to give you money for an X percentage. And you want to make sure that you're not giving that up for just the check. You want to get so much more from it.
So what are some of the currencies, the types of currency, right? So money is a currency. Yeah. We talk about marketing as a currency. What are some of the other currencies that you guys are saying, you know what, this is where we really need assistance, where we have blind spots? What are those areas to consider?
Yeah, so I think there's, especially in cybersecurity, what you would want is somebody that has the scars, the scar tissue, the battle wounds from running a cybersecurity company, because our space is different. Yeah. You can't sell cybersecurity the way you sell HR, because the CISOs are going to ask certain questions of you when you're selling to them. The CEOs are going to ask certain questions if you're selling a cybersecurity tool. And being able to tap into that, because I'm a first-time founder, my co-founder, he's a first-time founder. We don't know what we don't know, so we constantly make mistakes. And our partner, if we went and received venture capital, should be able to exponentially increase and decrease our learning curve. So if it was going to take us, 6 months to learn this one thing about how to go from smart startups to mid-sized market, it should now take us only 2 months, because you've already been there. You've seen the taking a cybersecurity software company from the stage that we're at to the next stage. And you know the cybersecurity industry so well that when it comes time to meeting new customers, to meeting new partners, that's a matter of an email. That network aspect of it is really important. And it's not, again, everybody thinks about networks from a perspective of, oh, I just know this person. No, I mean real networks, real somebody that I can reach out to, I can touch and say, hop on a call with these people because they're going to solve this problem that I know you have, type of network. So for us, the capital is definitely cybersecurity, just knowledge and experience and growth, because at the stage that we're at, I've never grown a cybersecurity software company before. I know that's weird for a CEO to say, but I'm not experienced in that. But I'm going to go do it, and I'm going to go do it right? And having a partner that knows what to do and knows to help me not make those mistakes is going to help us grow exponentially.
Well, as you said that, I reflect back on your story about stepping into the army and having to be deployed and having to lead a troop through battle, right?
Yeah.
And I said it's no different. It's just a different space, different industry. You're not getting shot at, maybe not with guns.
Right.
But I think you have you've experienced some things that allow you to step into that with a measure of confidence, even while you don't have an idea, right, as to the things that are ahead. And I appreciate your story, and definitely need to continue having this dialogue with you. As we wrap up here, AJ, Trailblazer or community we affectionately call our Blazer Nation loves to hear the resources of our featured guests, and so I was wondering, do you consume content through books, audiobooks? Like, how are you filling up the tank?
Yeah, I digest it in all ways. So I read, I'm always reading something physically. I'm always having an audiobook going as well. And then I'm constantly listening to podcasts as well, and blogs and whatnot. And just because reading to me and getting information, regardless of what the information is about, helps me be more creative. The more that you read, if you read someone else's creation or see, like even watching like live music makes me creative, because just watching creation makes me want to be more creative. So yeah, I'm a reader. My whole idea in life is I like to make decisions from an educated place. So even if
books you're reading right now that you're like, you know what, more people need to be in this book right here.
The book that I'm reading right now, the physical book is by a philosopher called Seneca, Letters from Seneca, and it's a good one. But I would say before you hop into that deep, because that's pretty deep philosophy, and it's you got to kind of get some before that. There's two books I recommend. One is The 5 a.m. Club by Robin Sharma, just an amazing book that talks about the power of waking up early. I'm an early morning riser, and there's probably somebody out there throwing up right now thinking about waking up early. I'm telling you, it's not that bad. You just got to go to sleep earlier. That's the only trick. It's the easiest trick right there. Just go to sleep a little earlier, and I promise you'll wake up early. But waking up early, man, it gives you an unfair advantage in life, because you get to just get some peace. We don't realize this as adults, especially as parents, but you need time to yourself. That time to yourself is so important, and waking up early, that's what it does for me. It allows me to take that break, and a lot of the methodologies and the science behind why waking up early is good is because of the 5 a.m. Club. That book is amazing. I see Annette's a fan too. So I'm telling you, that book it's game changing. It's a little corny, it's a storytelling. It gets a little corny throughout there, but get past the corniness, and it's a great book. The other one is Obstacle is the Way. By Ryan Holiday. It's all about really my story in life. Every time there was an obstacle, breaking ankles, joined the military. Then, I still wanted to play basketball, so I got back on the team. Lost my scholarship, got my scholarship back. In the Army, things happen, and I'm like, okay, that's fine. I'll do this now. Get out, I'll do this. So every time there's an obstacle, it becomes my path. It becomes the way that I go through and do things. So that's a great book. Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday. And then I would tell people, especially if you're in the cybersecurity industry, in the cloud security industry, you need to find a community, find a newsletter, weekly newsletter, find a podcast that you enjoy, and make that your thing that you listen to or read every week. Because you have to start to be deep into these communities to learn this stuff and to be an expert on this stuff and do that. And I have, your podcast is great for any Black entrepreneurs. There's a bunch of cybersecurity ones, like our guy Chris, Hacker Valley Studio, one of the best cybersecurity podcasts out there. So there's just for me, getting information helps you make better decisions at the end of the day. That's all it does. And the last thing I would say for any entrepreneur, since this is an entrepreneur class and you have built-in personal brands on there, there's HubSpot Academy is a free online training solution presented by HubSpot, which is $1 billion company, and they grew solely off of content. I took their content marketing certification from HubSpot Academy, and that is literally how I laid out the path for how we're doing marketing at Byte Chek. And if anybody follows Byte Chek on LinkedIn, if anybody knows anything about Byte Chek, you can see that our marketing is working and it's doing very well. And that all came from HubSpot. And the thing about being a Black entrepreneur is that there's a lot more resources. There's a lot more information out there about what you need to do as an entrepreneur that you can go and get. And HubSpot Academy is a great place. I learned everything I needed to know about marketing from there, content marketing certification. So, and the other thing is if anybody's going through this and they have questions and they want to know all right, I'm about to start a company. What do I do? reach out to me. I love to talk about it. I love to help people out because there's things that I learned that I wish I would have known from the beginning. And we have to be able to talk to each other and help the next person do things faster. That's the whole point of us going through this the first time. If I wanted to start a podcast, I'm going to come to you and say, hey, what do I do? Because I'm not going to try to make some mistakes that maybe you made when you first got started. And that's what we should be doing.
That's good, man. That's some gems. And take AJ up on that. There's so much gems in learning from other folks, understanding, where those potholes are and how you can get around those detours. AJ, I appreciate this conversation. One last question before I let you go. What's one action that those, hopping off, watching this or listening to the podcast, what's one action they should take this week that's going to help them to blaze their trail?
Decide this weekend that you're going, whatever it is that you're doing, whatever goal that you're pursuing, I want you to decide two things for that goal. One, decide for the next 90 days, the first 90 minutes of your day, you're only going to focus on that goal. You're not going to read your email. You're not going to check Slack. You're not going to check your phone. You're going to spend the first 90 minutes locked in for 90 days on that one goal. The other thing I'm going to challenge you to do is ignore the results for those first 90 days. If it's working out, if it's posting on LinkedIn, if it's studying for something, don't worry about the results until you get to the 3-month mark. Only worry about showing up every day. And if someone takes me up on this, I want you to come and tell me what you accomplished at the end of the 3 months. And that's going to have to be an hour conversation because of how much stuff you're going to accomplish. So it's all about focus. 90 days, one thing, first 90 minutes, and ignore the results. And great things will happen.
Man, you preaching, brother. AJ, I appreciate you, man. Thank you so much for rocking with us.
Yes, sir.
And thank you to everyone in the live stream here who's been tuning in this morning. I appreciate you hanging with us today. Hope you got a ton of wisdom and nuggets and the gems that AJ dropped. Be sure to follow us over at TB Pod, and you can access the show notes for this episode over at tbpod.com. AJ, have a great one, man.
You too. Thanks, man.
Thanks for spending time with us today. If we aren't yet connected, let's keep the conversation going on LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram. Now, we grow when you subscribe, share, and invite others to check us out. We believe that others who consume these stories will be moved to make significant changes that have generational impact for many others, both now and well into the future. Blaze Nation, go out today and keep blazing your trail.